Before we begin, I want to wish you, dear listeners, joy, love, and true well-being, because every moment of life is priceless. If my story resonates with your heart, please subscribe to my channel. It means the world to me and will only take a few seconds. Now, you are about to hear the moment that changed everything forever. Later, I will share my most intimate and profound experiences so that you can feel the full force of the emotions that overwhelmed me during those fateful hours. I still remember that night when time seemed to stand still and fate mercilessly altered everything. The cold evening air, tinged with a light dampness, enveloped the city while the neon lights of the car wash cast strange shadows onto the wet asphalt. At that moment, I was already walking home after a long day filled with everyday cares and quiet dreams of the future. Nothing, however, could have prepared me for what I was about to see. Standing at the service entrance of the car wash, I suddenly froze. Through the foggy glass, I made out a silhouette that made my heart clench with pain and disbelief. It was Artyom, my husband, my life partner for 7 years, whom I had loved with all my heart. But next to him stood another woman, a red-haired stranger whose vivid appearance sharply contrasted with the dim light of the night and my barely fulfilled dream of a happy family life. In that moment, my mind was swept into a whirlwind of emotions. Inside, everything screamed, "How can this be? How could the person I trusted so completely betray me so callously?" My thoughts, like shards of ice, pierced every cell of my body, and my soul froze with pain. The pounding of my heart, like a relentless drum, echoed across the deserted parking lot. With every passing second, I increasingly realized that the image I had built over the years was nothing but an illusion. Unable to bear the excruciating loneliness and betrayal, I rushed into the car wash building. Clutched tightly in my hand were 2 buckets of shampoo, symbols of my unyielding determination to confront this nightmare. The noise of the machines at work, the scent of the cleaning solution, and the sharp odor of chemicals mingled with my inner cry, turning reality into a chaotic maelstrom. "How could you, Artyom?" My voice burst out, filled not only with pain, but with a fury capable of burning away every remnant of trust. At that very moment, the red-haired woman, startled like a flame, tried to step back, but I could no longer contain the surge of emotions. My words were as cold as an autumn wind, and every uttered syllable cut like a knife through the delicate skin of my heart. I barreled through the space, and every sound, every rustle, seemed to echo the collapse of my shattered world. A relentless inner voice, like an unyielding judge, tormented me. Why? What did I do to deserve such betrayal? Those words were born and died in my mind, leaving behind nothing but emptiness and endless pain. I tried to piece together every fragment of my life, hoping to understand where that fateful break had occurred, but the answers slipped away like elusive, misty apparitions. Noticing my presence, Artyom hurried over, attempting to quell the storm that had erupted between us. His eyes were filled with confusion, and his voice trembled with uncertainty. "Karina, wait. It's not what you think." But his words had already lost all meaning for me. All I saw was deceit and falsehood that were tearing apart everything we had built together. In that moment, I felt my throat tighten, and tears involuntarily streamed down my cheeks, mingling with the cold dampness of the night and the pungent smell of chemicals. I remember how time seemed to drag on endlessly. Inside me, two opposing forces battled. The desire to preserve even a spark of our former love, and the resolve to break the bonds tied to this destructive deception. My thoughts, like restless waves, crashed relentlessly against each other. Could I still save our love? Could all of this have been a mistake, and am I to blame? Yet every new detail, every subtle movement in that room, told me one thing. The trust we had painstakingly built over the years was irretrievably lost. Amid the chaos, I barely heard Artyom trying to object. His voice sounded soft and timid, as if he were afraid of his own words. The red-haired stranger, who had been standing nearby, had already gathered her belongings and quickly slipped away into the depths of the car wash, leaving only a faint whisper and a strange feeling that this encounter was no mere coincidence. There I stood in the midst of the turmoil, feeling as if the past and the future were merging into one agonizing moment. Every sound, every raindrop tapping on the roof resonated in my soul. Fragments of memories from happier days, when Artyom and I dreamed of a shared future, when everything seemed possible and bright, swirled in my mind. I kept asking myself, how could I have lived in such an illusion for so long? Where was the sincerity he once spoke of? These questions remained unanswered, plunging me ever deeper into a vortex of doubts and pain. At that moment, I realized that a new, uncharted chapter of my life had just begun. A chapter in which I would have to learn anew how to live, love, and perhaps even forgive, despite the wounds of the past. The headlights of passing cars flickered through the fogged-up windows, reflected in my tears like a symbol of hope that still glimmered deep within my heart. That hope was fragile, like thin ice under which an abyss of unspeakable pain lay hidden. Yet in that moment, when all seemed lost, I felt a strange inner warmth, a quiet spark that refused to be extinguished despite all the trials. My hands, trembling with rage and despair, clutched the buckets tightly, and my eyes searched for answers in the darkness. Every passing moment, every sound, served as a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, light can break through. And I vowed to myself that this night, no matter how agonizing and destructive it might be, would be the turning point on my path toward a new life. At that moment, I could no longer believe that my life, filled with dreams and plans, had been so ruthlessly shattered. Yet despite all the pain, I knew one thing for certain. I had to be strong, a strength that would help me overcome the betrayal and gain a new freedom. The inner voice whispered that every wound is a lesson, every trial a chance to start over. And so, standing amidst the chaos, I realized for the first time that my destiny lay in my own hands. Perhaps ahead of me awaited not only new trials, but also moments of profound joy and genuine freedom that would help me heal and learn to trust in myself again. But for now, I allowed myself to feel the entire spectrum of emotions: pain, anger, disappointment, fear, and that delicate spark of hope that still shimmered in my heart. That night marked the starting point, a moment when my dreams of a happy family and eternal love scattered like dust in the wind. And although a long road to self-acceptance and liberation lay ahead, I could not turn back time. All that remained was to move forward despite the scars and to summon the strength to become the woman who could once again believe in love and happiness. After that fateful night, when destiny had mercilessly upended everything, the memories of our early encounters, those golden days when I was full of hope, faith, and dreams of a blissful future, would resurface time and time again. Allow me to take you back to those moments when everything seemed possible and infinitely beautiful. I remember one early spring morning when, still unaware of the trials fate had in store, I happened to be near one of the car washes where Artyom worked. I had come to pick up my car for a routine wash, and there he was, confident and with a gentle smile, like a ray of sunshine, greeting each customer. In that moment, when our eyes met, it felt as if the world had stopped and a spark ignited within me that I had never felt before. "Hi, I'm Artyom," he said in a warm, soft voice that melted the ice in my heart instantly. I replied, smiling shyly, "My name is Karina. It's a pleasure to meet you." From that point on, our encounters grew more frequent. At first, it was just brief conversations, exchanging pleasantries and small remarks about the weather, and then long discussions over a cup of coffee at a cozy cafe near the car wash. We talked about everything, from the little joys of everyday life to dreams of a future that seemed so bright and real. I still recall one day when we sat on a park bench, watching as the sunset painted the sky in warm shades of orange and pink. With a sincere smile, he said, "Imagine how wonderful it would be to live in a seaside villa, where every day begins with the gentle sound of the surf and the aroma of freshly brewed morning coffee." Those words, spoken with such enthusiasm, became etched in my heart. I dreamed of a family, of children, of a home filled with love and understanding. Together, Artyom and I built plans, dreaming of a future where every detail held meaning. Our conversations flowed effortlessly. One evening, as the rain softly drummed on the roof, we sat under a large umbrella and shared childhood stories. His tales of daring adventures and dreams of building a great business inspired me, and my own sincerity and dreaminess found a reflection in his eyes. In those moments, I felt I had finally found the one with whom I could share all life's joys and sorrows. Sometimes, in the quiet moments when the city fell asleep, I could hear an inner voice softly questioning, "Could Artyom be the one with whom I can build a real family? Will he share in the joys of life and help turn our dreams into reality?" The answers came on their own, in every look he gave me, every tender touch, every word laden with promises. We spent evenings wandering through empty streets under the magic of night, each star seeming like a messenger of our future destiny. The warm glow of streetlights reflected in his eyes, and I was convinced that happiness awaited us. We dreamed together, envisioning how we would watch the sunrise on the seashore, laugh away the trivial problems that seemed insignificant when shared with a loved one. Every morning began with promises, and every evening with a quiet faith that tomorrow would be even better. It seemed to me that Artyom and I were the perfect match, destined for each other, bound by an invisible connection that united our souls. At times, our conversations bordered on poetry. I remember one evening on the terrace of a small restaurant, gazing at the twinkling horizon, when he softly said, "You know, Karina, Sometimes I feel that there's something magical in our lives, as if every encounter, every word, is part of a grand plan leading us to something beautiful. Feeling my heart flutter, I replied, I believe that if we love sincerely, the world will reveal all its beauty. Together, we can overcome any obstacle if we trust each other. Those words sounded like a promise, an oath that I held deep within my soul. But as it often happens, even in the brightest moments, the impending betrayal quietly creeps into the shadows, leaving behind subtle, almost imperceptible warning signs. And though I was blinded by happiness then, somewhere deep inside, premonitions stirred that I could not yet understand. During those days, I found myself mentally replaying every moment of our meetings, analyzing each word, every gesture from Artyom. His caring actions, how he would gently pick up fallen autumn leaves from the road or embrace me tenderly in the quiet evenings, became indelible in my memories. I imagined that our love would only grow stronger with time, that together we could overcome any hardship as we walked hand in hand along the winding road of life. Yet even amid those joyful memories, there lingered an uncertainty, a faint shadow of doubt that would sometimes visit me in the quiet hours of the night when my thoughts grew too loud. In those moments, I would ask myself, is all this just a dream? Could the perfect image I paint in my heart be nothing more than an illusion? I quickly brushed aside these thoughts, comforting myself with the notion, everything will be fine, for I have found the love I have longed for. And despite the occasional flicker of doubt, I relished every moment, convinced that together we could build a future filled with light and joy. Our relationship blossomed swiftly. We made plans together, discussed the details of our future as if we were already writing the script of our ideal life. Often, Artyom would say that I was the most important part of his world, and I believed him, much like a child trusts a parent. With each passing day, our dreams merged into one, painting a picture where there was no room for loneliness or disappointment. And yet, somewhere in the background, deep within my soul, the first hints of doubt began to emerge, hints that would later unfold into a painful truth. There were moments when Artyom mentioned that he was late from work, offering strange excuses. Inventory checks, issues with supplies, minor inconsistencies that seemed insignificant against the backdrop of our shared happiness. But even then, in those rare moments of silence, I felt a chill down my spine, a quiet whisper of premonition that quickened my heartbeat with anxiety. Sometimes, while strolling in the park or sitting in a cozy cafe, I would catch myself staring into his eyes, trying to detect the slightest change, the subtle signals that might warn me of an impending storm. Yet each time he looked at me, his eyes brimmed with promises, and his voice exuded gentle certainty, and I found myself convincing that everything was exactly as it should be. Our love grew brighter, like a garden blooming after a long winter. We laughed, dreamed, and planned, every moment filled with the delight and tender anticipation of what was to come. But occasionally, in those silent moments of contemplation, I was gripped by a slight fear, as if somewhere beyond the horizon a shadow was waiting to shatter this fragile world of happiness. One quiet evening, when the city had sunk into a peaceful darkness, we sat together on the balcony of my small apartment, watching the shimmering city lights. Leaning on the railing, Artyom softly said, You know, Karina, I have never felt such strength as when you are near. Your faith, your tenderness, they give me the strength to go on, even when the world seems harsh and unwelcoming, I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude. And you, Artyom, give me confidence. With you, I believe that together we can overcome any difficulty, that our love is not just a coincidence, but a true miracle that must be cherished. Those words, spoken in the silence of the night, left a deep mark on my soul. It felt as if every word, every touch carried the power of the world, capable of working wonders. Yet somewhere deep within me, a premonition was already taking shape, a premonition that would later manifest as pain and disappointment. Only months later did I come to understand how fragile the boundary between a dream and reality, between love and deception, truly was. Those beautiful moments, filled with light and warmth, now serve as a reminder of how pure and sincere a feeling can be when it is not yet tainted by doubt. Memories of our early meetings, long walks under a starry sky, and quiet conversations filled with dreams remain with me like precious shards of the past that I will keep in my heart, despite all the hardships. But even when everything seemed perfect, I could not completely silence that inner voice, warning of a possible shadow along our path. I would ask myself, can love be eternal if it is built on doubt and uncertainty? Despite my best efforts to dismiss those thoughts, they quietly settled in the corners of my consciousness, leaving behind a lingering sense that the future might bring not only joy, but also pain. The morning after that fateful night arrived, yet no rays of sunlight could dispel the darkness that enveloped my heart. Upon waking, I felt as if an elusive anxiety hovered in the air, as if nature itself was warning me of an impending storm. Instead of the usual warmth of morning, I was gripped by the icy chill of doubts and pain. I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to muster the strength for a new day, while my thoughts swirled like autumn leaves caught in the wind. Why can't I still believe what happened? Could it all be just a figment of my imagination? Am I overreacting? But an inner voice relentlessly repeated, "You cannot ignore the signals sent by your soul. Every small detail, every gesture, they tell you that the world around you has changed forever." Recalling that night, I found myself unconsciously searching my memory for clues that had previously gone unnoticed. I remembered words, subtle intonations, even the smallest details of Artyom's behavior that once seemed ordinary. But now, everything took on a sinister hue. In the kitchen, over a cup of strong coffee, I tried to calm myself, yet every sip only deepened the taste of bitterness and emptiness. I stared out the window, where the world beyond the glass seemed calm and mundane, as if nothing foretold the coming tragedy. But inside, a storm raged. The echoes of betrayal, hidden hints, and unfulfilled promises tore me apart. Throughout the day, I tried to act as if everything were normal, yet every word from Artyom, every glance he gave, painfully reminded me that something was amiss. When he returned home late again, his excuses about delays and trivial work issues no longer sounded convincing. I strained to catch any note of uncertainty in his voice, hoping to find where the truth might be hidden, but I found no answer. In those moments, I often asked myself silently, am I making this all up? Is my soul trying to shield itself from the pain? by creating illusions. But every time I caught sight of his forgotten wedding ring, discovered in a random place, or saw strange notifications flash on his phone, my heart clenched in agony. These seemingly insignificant details, during happier times, now served as undeniable evidence that the trust we had built over the years was fragile and deceptive. One evening, returning from work, I noticed that Artyom was late once again. In the hallway of our home, I heard his quiet, tired voice, tinged with embarrassment as he tried to explain his delay. "Karina, I got held up at work today. There were just a lot of urgent matters, you know." But in his voice, I heard not only excuses, but also that elusive shadow which deepened my doubts. I merely nodded in response, trying to gather my emotions, while inside, the pain and premonition churned violently. Sitting at the table in silence, I began to scrutinize every minute detail of our shared life. Every gesture, every look from Artyom became a puzzle I tried to solve. My inner dialogue grew louder. Why does he avoid my eyes? Why does his voice carry a hint of another's tenderness? Am I being too sensitive? Or perhaps too naive? Time dragged on, and with each passing hour, my doubts transformed into overwhelming anxiety. Even the familiar gestures, his gentle smile when speaking of the future, his warm embraces, now appeared to me as a mask concealing the truth. I found myself unconsciously replaying every conversation in my mind, searching for even the smallest inconsistency, any sign of deceit. One evening, as rain softly tapped against the windows, I decided to ask myself aloud, as if trying to convince myself that everything was fine. Maybe it's all just a trick of my imagination. Perhaps I am seeing things that aren't there. But the answer came immediately. My gaze inadvertently fell on his forgotten phone, its screen flashing with notifications that evoked a strange sense of unease. I couldn't understand what was happening, yet my intuition told me that the truth was far deeper than it appeared. Inside, a battle raged. A desire to believe in our love versus the fear that everything I knew was a lie. Every night, I went to bed thinking about how things might have been different if I had seen everything for what it truly was. But with each new dawn, the pain sharpened and the doubts grew heavier. I began to spend more time in introspection, recording my feelings and experiences in a diary. Each entry became a cry from my soul, an attempt to capture the moments when doubt transformed into certainty and pain gave way to a resolve to act. Today, Artyom again said he was held up due to work problems, but I noticed his hands trembling as he tried to steady his voice. I realized that behind his words lay something more, something I had been too afraid to see. These diary entries became an anchor, keeping me afloat in an ocean of uncertainty. I would read them over and over, seeking answers in my own words to the questions that tormented me day by day. The inner voice grew ever more insistent, pushing me to make decisions, even if they were painful. Day by day, it became increasingly clear that trust is a fragile thing, easily shattered by deceit and lies. On one such day, when a cold wind invaded through my window, I realized that I could no longer ignore the signs fate was sending. Tears mixed with the rain streamed down my cheeks as I bid farewell to the illusions that had long nourished my hopes. I knew I was faced with a choice, whether to try to believe in redemption or to break the bond that had already brought so much pain. My inner dialogue continued. Can I forgive? Should I continue living in the shadow of betrayal? Or is it better to let go of everything and start a new life where I am strong and free? These questions tormented me, quickening my heart with fear and uncertainty. Deep down, however, I sensed that a decision would have to be made soon. Silence brought no relief, and each new piece of evidence only added to the weight of betrayal. One quiet evening, when the city was shrouded in a gentle twilight haze, I decided to take a walk to seek answers in the cool wind and the twinkling streetlights. Wandering along familiar paths, I sought solace in the sounds of the night, in the rustle of leaves and the soft whisper of rain. Yet thoughts of Artyom and his mysterious absences would not let me be. Every minute felt like a trial, a test of my faith and resolve. And then I realized I had to act. I could no longer live in a world of uncertainty and illusions. A burning desire to uncover the truth ignited in my heart, despite all my fears and doubts. The decision was painfully clear. I had to find the answers, even if it meant confronting the pain I had long tried to suppress. As I made my way home, every step and every breath filled me with determination. I knew that ahead lay not only more questions, but also moments when the truth, however bitter, would shatter the chains of lies and pave the way to a new life. That inner voice whispered, "You are strong. Every pain is a step toward true liberation. Don't let fear control you. Face your destiny head on." Those words became my mantra, warming me in moments of loneliness and doubt. I began to view the world with clarity and resolve, ready to accept whatever the future might bring. Yet, even then, the feelings inside me still churned, refusing to let go of the past, and I knew that my life would never be the same. Thus began my journey to uncover the truth. A path filled with anxiety, doubts, and pain. Though I feared what the truth might reveal, I knew there was no turning back from that encounter with myself. For only by enduring every trial could I find true freedom and learn to love myself again. That fateful night, when the truth finally came to light, I felt the world collapse, leaving behind only the ashes of former hopes. Returning to the car wash where everything had changed proved to be both a torment and a liberation. The night was cold and relentless, as if the universe itself had decided to punish me for my blind faith. As I approached the entrance, a suffocating silence reigned inside, broken only by the hum of the machines and the soft buzz of the lights. My heart pounded furiously, and every moment seemed interminable. Through the fogged glass, I witnessed a scene that would remain etched in my memory forever. Artyom, the very man I had trusted completely, sat in a chair, while a red-haired woman stood beside him. Her presence, so alien and unwelcome, sent shivers of pain and rage through my soul. "How could you, Artyom?" I cried out, my voice trembling with a mixture of fury and inconsolable sorrow. In that instant, words seemed futile, and every gesture, every look felt like an insult to everything I had believed in. I rushed inside, shattering the silence, and in my hands were the buckets of shampoo, the very symbols of my determination to confront the deceit. Cold liquids splashed through the air, mingling with the sharp scent of chemicals, creating an atmosphere of chaos where the drama of my life unfolded. "Is this your truth?" My voice rang out, full of accusation, as flames of unquenchable pain ignited in my eyes. I refused to listen to his excuses, dismissing his feeble attempts at explanation. Artyom's words, filled with embarrassment and fear, only deepened my wrath. In that same instant, the red-haired woman, caught off guard, tried to retreat, but I could no longer hold back my torrent of emotions. Every moment, every movement was imbued with the realization that my life had been nothing but a lie. An inner voice kept repeating, "You deserve more. Your soul is not meant to be defiled by lies and betrayal." Artyom, attempting to intervene, only worsened the situation. His voice faltered, his words merging with desperate pleas for forgiveness, and his eyes betrayed the terror of the inevitable truth. I could no longer hide my pain. I could no longer endure the inaction that became increasingly apparent with each passing second. In my confusion and fury, I saw him desperately trying to explain, but all his words dissolved in the storm of emotions raging inside me. By chance, I caught sight of his work tablet. On its screen flashed irrefutable evidence, messages, photographs, records that testified that the deception ran deeper than I could have imagined. At that moment, my soul shattered with betrayal, and I realized that the trust we had built over the years was irretrievably lost. "You can never regain what has been destroyed," I whispered, feeling my words strike Artyom's heart. His face contorted with pain and regret, but it was too late. The truth was unyielding. In the ensuing chaos, I saw the red-haired woman, seized by panic, flee in a hurry, leaving behind nothing but a shadow. A reminder that even brief encounters can have devastating consequences. That encounter was the final straw, compelling me to decide. I would no longer try to restore an illusion of love that had become nothing but chains of pain and loss. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the curtains, I could no longer stop the torrent of thoughts about how my life had changed. With anxiety and pain in my heart, I greeted the new day, yet this time something new had been born within me, a resolve that freed me from the shackles of the past. I understood that I could no longer live in a world where lies and betrayal reigned supreme. My soul demanded justice and respect. Over the following days, I slowly and surely made the difficult but inevitable decision to sever ties with the person I once held so dear, a person who had betrayed my trust. Our final conversations were filled with tears and bitter words. Artyom, attempting to reclaim even a fragment of the love he had lost, muttered feeble excuses. But I had already made up my mind. One gloomy evening, as cold rain washed away the remnants of old illusions from the streets, I said, "Artyom, you do not deserve to be a part of my life. You have betrayed everything I believed in. I can no longer live in a world of lies. Goodbye." Those words were not uttered with tears streaming down my face, but with a determination that emanated from the very depths of my soul. I felt the heavy weight of deceit and pain gradually lift, making way for a new strength and the understanding that I deserved better. Soon after, I discovered that I was pregnant. The news that a new life was growing inside me became a symbol of hope and renewal. Rather than seeking solace in the past, I decided that this small spark of the future would mark the beginning of my new path. I firmly declared, "You did not deserve to be the father of my child." From that moment on, I stopped looking back. A future awaited me where the pain of betrayal would give way to strength and independence. I changed my username on social media, and my blog took on a new name, Mama on a Million. Every story I shared, every post became not just an account of pain, but a manifesto of strength, inspiring other women to seek the truth and become stronger after any betrayal. Artyom, on the other hand, found himself trapped in his own mistakes. His business began to crumble, and he, like a shadow from the past, wandered the streets trying to drown the bitterness of his loss. His excuses rang hollow, and each new day brought only the stark realization that he had lost something priceless. I, having rediscovered my independence, began to build a new life. Every step, every morning reminded me that every wound is a lesson, and every loss an opportunity for a new beginning. The inner voice that once brimmed with doubt and pain now told me, "You are strong. Your tears are not a sign of weakness, but a testament to your capacity to endure and grow. Every hardship is a step toward your freedom." Time passed, and I began to feel a new spark of hope ignite within me. I understood that the future belongs to those who can forgive themselves for past mistakes and move forward, no matter what. My diary entries, my reflections, and new dreams laid the foundation for a new life. A life where love began with respect for oneself and one's feelings. In the end, I want to say to you, dear listener, that even in the deepest darkness, there is always a place for light. Every loss, every betrayal can become the start of a new, brighter chapter if you are not afraid to let go of what no longer serves you. I am grateful for every trial and every painful moment, for they have made me who I am today. Today, looking back, I see not only tears and bitterness, but also an endless strength that helped me break free from the chains of betrayal. I found within myself the courage to accept the truth, sever old ties, and build a new life filled with love, joy, and freedom. May this story serve as a reminder that each of us deserves happiness and that true strength is born in the moments when we decide to move forward despite the pain. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Your attention and support mean more to me than words can express. I wish you happiness, love, and well-being on your own journey. May every new day fill you with the confidence that even after the darkest night, a dawn full of hope and light awaits.